You've reached episode 5 of my Cruising Princess Cruise Lines with Vickie podcast. Wow, I can't believe this is the 5th one. But I wanted to take some time to talk about our California coastal that we did recently on board the Crown Princess out of San Pedro, California. It was a wonderful cruise. Reason we booked this is we hadn't been away for a long time and we were really due, and the price was right, and the ports were good, and we wanted to go back and see the Crown Princess and all the amazing crew that are on board it. So we live in Vancouver, so it's not too far for us to drive to Seattle, and it's about a 2.5-hour drive. So we drove down the day before the cruise, stayed at a hotel near the airport that included parking for the week, and we flew with JetBlue on the Saturday morning from Seattle to Long Beach Airport, which, if you've never been to Long Beach, it's so nice. It's much more civilized than, say, flying into LAX. And you get off the plane, there's only maybe 10 or 12 gates, and there's only 2 carousels where your bags come off, and it's open air, and the sun is shining, and it's warm, and you pick up your bags, and it's really like cross the street, and there's where the taxis are. It also helps because it's a little bit closer to the pier than Los Angeles Airport is, and the taxis there have a set price, so it's $45 to take a taxi from the airport at Long Beach to San Pedro. And we're early. Our flight arrived like at 9:30, so we're at the pier, well, around 10:30. It's quite early. And we drop off our bags because there's still people coming off the ship. And we drop our bags, hand them to the porter, and we know that once we do get on board, probably our bags are going to be in the cabin. In fact, they were in the cabin when we did get on board the ship. We then head off on foot. We decide to walk into town of San Pedro and do a little bit of exploring. There's not too much that's open. It's still relatively early, but around 11:30 we stop and have a nice Mexican meal, fabulous, very good, very authentic, very reasonably priced. And after our meal, we wanted to go to our favorite wine store, which is Off the Vine, which is located on 6th, and it's owned by a local couple, and they have a good selection of wines. They will offer some recommendations for you, and make sure you talk to them about the prices on the bottles, because often the price on the bottle is the price that it cost to have them open the wine and enjoy it there while they're doing like a wine tasting or an evening there. So check with them. So we got 2 bottles of wine, and then we started walking back to the ship, and I think we were back at the ship around 1:30 or so. And it wasn't really busy. There were a lot of people, but we have priority boarding, so there was really no line to get our check-in, even for the other groups, maybe a few minutes. But we had our key cards and our information all done, and we went through the security, and we did have our 2 bottles of wine, but that really wasn't an issue. They directed us to a table, and we had 1 bottle per person that were allowed. They made note of that. We then went to the lineup for priority boarding. I did see that there were some groups off to the side that were being called in groups, so probably wasn't total open boarding yet. They were still calling groups, but we were able to walk right on. We went to our cabin. We were in cabin E, Emerald Deck 229, which is an ocean view obstructed view, and which was an upgrade from an inside, so we were quite happy, and there's a picture there about what our view looked like. The room was quite nice, quite well laid out. Everything was there. It was showing a little bit of wear and tear, a couple marks on the floor and the walls, and have to say that the mattress on this ship, in this cabin in particular, was just horrible. There's really no other words to say. Princess really needs to work on improving their mattress situation. I don't know why hotels and other cruise lines can have such amazing, comfortable beds, but Princess, not so much. Although we have noticed an improvement in this area on other cruise ships in other cabins, this cabin had a very thin mattress. It had seen better days. When you laid on it, you could feel the metal bars underneath the mattress. And when our cabin steward knocked on our cabin door to introduce himself, he told us that they didn't have any other mattresses, that he would work on improving it by putting on a mattress pad or foamy type thing. And he also put a board underneath the mattress. That did help, but since this was a 7-day cruise, we felt we could tolerate it for the 7 days, but certainly if it would have been a longer cruise, we would have done something more about it. So we dropped off all our stuff and went around the ship exploring a bit. We weren't hungry. We tried to make reservations at Sabatini's through the Dine line, but couldn't seem to get through, and I'll talk more about that later. We then went to our muster drill. Our muster drill was at 3:30, and our muster station was the casino. We did have to bring our life jackets. It is starting to go on some of the ships where you don't need to bring your life jackets if you have sailed with Princess recently. But on the Crown Princess, as of September, you did still need to bring your life jackets. No big deal, so that's what we did. It was pretty quick and easy to do. And then the trip we were on our way. We went up to the sun deck and listened to the band and did some dancing and had a drink and watched the beautiful sail away. We wanted to go to the Elite Lounge up in Skywalkers. Tonight was a drink that we were wanting to try out, and so we headed up there relatively early. We weren't even dressed for dinner yet, and I had a margarita. And if people don't know about this lounge, it is a lounge that's open from 5 to 7, and on this ship it's in Skywalker's Lounge. And if you are a platinum or an elite member or in a full suite, you'll get an invitation in your cabin that outlines what the menu is for drinks, as well as what the food items are each night, and the cost of the drinks are $5. And so we wanted to try it tonight, and we really did enjoy it. We got to see a couple of bar waiters that we hadn't seen in a long time. But it really doesn't work well for us being from 5 to 7, since we normally have dinner around 7:45-ish. So since it closes at 7, or last call is at 7, we're often not ready yet, so we often don't get to go. So tonight, because we went early, like around 5, we were able to go and then go up to our cabin and get changed and before dinner. We have anytime dining on this ship, and we were really wanting to have Mark and Lorelei as our waiters, and we had communicated with them prior to getting on board that they were going to be in the anytime dining room in Da Vinci. So we arranged to be sat at a table for 2 in their section every night for dinner, and we're really thankful that they were able to accommodate us. It was so wonderful seeing them again, and that first day seeing them with big hugs and kisses. And I know people around us were probably wondering we were a little crazy, because there were so many staff coming up and saying hi to us, because we had spent 49 days on this ship just earlier in the year, and many of the crew were either still on the ship from then, or they had gone home and had come back to the ship to start another contract. So it was really nice seeing everyone. We had a lovely drink before dinner, I should say, up at Crooner's Bar, and outside down in the atrium there was a mariachi band playing Mexican music, and it really got you in the spirit of vacation, and a nice way to start the trip. The next day is a sea day, and we really didn't do a whole lot. We were tired. We've been working a lot. We haven't had any vacation, and so we slept in, and then we decided to go down for breakfast. And it's the first sea day. It's everybody wants to try breakfast the first sea day. They're up early, and we were sat at a table for 8, and I should have thought about this, but yeah, breakfast took forever. It's not surprising. Big table, very busy. It's going to be a long time. It was over an hour for breakfast, but it was really nice meeting new people, and the food was fabulous, the service was great, and it was a great way to start the trip. When we came back to our cabin, there was an invite. We'd gotten the invite for the most traveled luncheon, which was going to be held on the sea day after San Francisco, so our next sea day. And this is for the top 40 passengers based on your cruise days. And Bernie and I were just honored to be included. We ended up being number 13 and 14 on this sailing as the most traveled. We love the cocktail party normally that they have, but we really enjoyed this luncheon as well, and I'll talk more about that when we get to that sea day. Tonight's also going to be a formal night, so we had arranged with some of my Princess Cruise Lines fans, Michelle and Pam, to meet them up at Skywalker's. We met them up there before the Captain's Welcome Aboard party, had a drink with them, then went down to the atrium and kind of roamed around a little bit there. And it was really nice because the ship wasn't crazy busy, and I think that's because the demographics on this cruise are relatively younger, compared to some of the longer cruises I've taken. Our age seems to be more of the norm, so I would say 40s to mid-50s. Quite a few younger families. I would say there's about 50 to 70 kids on board. Sailing from Long Beach, it's really easy to get to. It's a 7-day cruise. It was quite affordable. So I think that was a draw for a lot of people to come on this cruise. The atrium is bustling. They're serving champagne. They're walking around with these trays that are holding these chocolate pops that are like a chocolate truffle. The one I had was flavored with Grand Marnier. It was so good. In fact, I would have had more, except I knew I was going in for dinner, so I didn't want to have too much. But Bernie and I went and stopped in at Vines and had a drink there, and then listened to the captain speaking, and we saw the officers getting introduced, and we saw people pouring the champagne, and it was kind of a nice beginning of the evening. We then went into the dining room, and it was again like a formal night, so it was a wonderful evening to have a dinner in there. It was so nice to see Mark and Lorelei again and catch up with them. Now the next day we're in San Francisco, and I'm not going to talk about all the ports in this particular podcast, but I'm going to do another podcast right after this one that's going to discuss all the ports we visited. So we visited San Francisco, Santa Barbara, San Diego, and Ensenada. So it's just to keep the length of this podcast down, I'm going to break it up. So this day we're in San Francisco, and we're there until 10 p.m. tonight. So we head ashore to see friends of ours. But when we do get back on board the ship, I can note that there was no traditional dining tonight because we're in port so late. All the dining rooms had anytime dining, and we didn't really get back on board in time for dinner anyhow, and we certainly weren't hungry for dinner, so we ended up grabbing I think a bit of a snack up in Horizon Court a little bit later on, and we went to bed really early. We watched Sail Away, and we had a drink, and then we crashed. It was a really nice day. It was a busy day, and so we knew that tomorrow was going to be a sea day, and so we waited for that sea day. Now, the other thing I wanted to say was that Wi-Fi on board the ship was very sporadic and quite slow, but they were doing some work on the internet Wi-Fi cables. There was a notice in the patter every day saying to be on the lookout because there was a crew working to thread the ship with new fiber optic cables and for the Wi-Fi. So I don't know if that was the reason why. It certainly wasn't like this the last time we'd sailed on it, but it was quite slow this trip. I had forgotten to mention that we had tried to get into Sabatini's, or at least make a reservation at Sabatini's, and we'd stopped by there the first day, but it was closed. And so after going to the Elite Lounge, we stopped there again, and there was some head waiters there, and we knocked on the door, and they came, and they said they weren't taking reservations there, that they were going to be taking reservations through the dine line, so that it was necessary for us to go up to the dine line, to the phone, and call the dine line. So I basically turned the corner, picked up the phone there at the stairwell, called the dial line, and all it did was ring, 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 ring. Nobody answered. So having no luck trying to get through, no luck seeing them in person, to the point that we ended up giving up making a reservation at Sabatini's, which was a real disappointment. And I think maybe Princess needs to look at possibly how they can work on this, because we would have dined there. And I know that Sabatini's usually isn't very busy for dinner. Maybe this is one of the little reasons why that people aren't booking there. I will add, though, that we did go downstairs to the promenade deck, walked right into the Crown Grill, spoke with the head waiter there, and very quickly made a reservation for one of the nights for dinner there. Now, the night that we dined there, we were sat at a lovely booth. We had Ricardo as our waiter again, and it was such a treat to see him again. We had sailed with him on the Star Princess and then the Crown Princess earlier this year, and he's from Mexico, and he remembered us, and it was so nice. He was so helpful. He gave us some recommendations for wine, and we tried one of them, and we were not disappointed at all. I had a lovely spinach salad that had goat cheese and tomatoes on it. It was really nice, refreshing, light. Our next entree was the black and blue onion soup, and surprisingly, it came and it was like ice cold. It was almost like it had just come out of the fridge or something, and I commented to Ricardo, and he quickly whisked them away and brought us new ones. I'm not sure what exactly happened there, but something was amiss. We then had our steaks, filet mignon for me, and cooked perfectly with a side of garlic potatoes and some asparagus. And oh, it was so good. Really enjoyed it. I was so full, I couldn't even have our chocolate obsession dessert. I know, isn't that crazy? That's one of my favorite things. I couldn't make room for it. We just shared the rest of the wine. We chatted, talked about, our trip and how lucky we were and how happy we were. It was a time to reconnect, and that's what I love about cruising. There's no distractions. It's just, you're together with your honey, and you can talk and hold hands and just really enjoy the whole experience of being away together. The Crown Grill, as great as it was, I did find the head waiter to not be as out and about, and didn't even approach our table to comment about the soup or find out how our meal was. But I wasn't going to put that as a damper on the evening. We left there, and we're so full we decided to walk up on the sun deck for a while and watch the seas and look up at the sky. So back to, we've now left San Francisco. It's our next sea day, our last at sea day, because there's only 2 on this itinerary. Today, I decided not to go to the dining room for breakfast. Bernie went up to the Horizon Court, and he brought me back some fruit, and I think a muffin or so, and that was just perfect for me. I was quite happy with that. One of the things Princess has introduced on, or at least something I hadn't seen before, was these episodes on the TV, which is called Destinations in Depth, where they talk about places that Princess visits, and they'll go in depth on the city or the port that they'll be visiting, and they talk about culture and history and food and wine, and it's very, very interesting. In fact, we sat there, or laid there, I should say, in bed, and watched 3 of these episodes and had to kind of drag ourselves away, knowing that I'm sure we could catch some more of these at a later time. That day was also our most traveled luncheon, and this luncheon is going to be held at Sabatini's. And again, it's the top 40 passengers, and when you come in, the Captain Circle host, in this case it was Fleur, and the future cruise consultant Sylvain were the host, and you get introduced to the captain. You pose for a picture, and they hand you the picture before the lunch is even over. And you're sat at a table, and in our case we were sat at a table for 6, but there were 7 of us at the table, because our host was the executive of housekeeping, Antonio, and he talked about his role on the ship and what he does and his experiences with Princess, and we remember him, and he remembered us from the Diamond Princess a few years ago. And it was a lovely luncheon, and it's such a treat. And we were excited because Ricardo was serving us again. He's the gentleman who served us in the Crown Grill. We were sat with two couples from California, and one couple was just over us in sailings and the other one was just below us in sailing. So obviously they're sitting people at tables based on how many days at sea you have. We left there and we ended up having a nap that afternoon. That's how relaxed and tired we were, and it's that guilty pleasure of just doing nothing all day. In fact, I finished a whole book in one day at sea. Our evening that night was back in the dining room, and before dinner was the Captain's Circle cocktail party, which was held in Club Fusion on the sailing, and we were on the second event of the evening. They had one earlier, and ours was at 7:15, and we sat near the back because we didn't really want to disturb anybody, and we were busy chatting. And we sat with a lovely woman who's traveling on her own and got to know her some more. Chatted with some of the offices that are nearby. And that night we're having dinner with Claudio, who's the hotel general manager. He's going to join us in the dining room. So it was wonderful to get to see him and chat with him and catch up. We'd seen him in July when he was just about to head home. We got to meet his family, his wife and two children, and travel with him for 49 days. And also we sailed with him 2 other times before that. But we consider him a really good friend now. So it was a lovely dinner. We thanked him again for the meal, even though it was just in the dining room, but the fact that he took the time out of his busy day to spend it with us, we really appreciate it. We were going to go to the production show that night, but we were a little bit late, and we walked in, and even though the second show didn't seem to be as busy as the first one, we just stood at the back and watched it for a few minutes, and then decided, let's just kind of wander around and take it easy and maybe go look up at the stars. The next day we're in Santa Barbara, and so again, check my podcast to learn more about the ports and what we did. That night we were doing the Stamish table. Now the Stamish table is something that's held in Vines. They offer them a few nights during the cruise. Tonight's theme is New World red wine. So they featured 3 wines from California, and they matched it up with certain tapas. And Monica and Red were the host of this, and they talked about the wines and what they thought of them and what foods they thought might be good with them. The price for this is $15. It's quite a great deal, I think, and I really, really enjoy these. It's a small, intimate gathering. In fact, there's only 4 of us. Now, one of the things is when you reserve for this, all they do is take a reservation. You don't pay for it until you're there. And I think perhaps because of this, people tend to cancel. And in fact, on this Stamish table, the other couples had canceled, so it ended up just being the 4 of us. Although I enjoyed it, I don't know if Princess maybe should be doing it this way. Maybe I think charging them when they sign up for it would ensure that people actually come and join in and attend. We had a lot of fun with Monica and Red, and of course Anthony was there serving wine, and Oscar was serving the tapas, and we got some really fun pictures of goofing around there at Vines. But, of course, going to the dining room afterwards, and it's the chef's dinner night, we're not really hungry because we've had tapas and wine, and now we're going to have some more wine and dinner, and it's pretty quiet in the dining room. And I ordered the fried chicken, and Bernie ordered the scallops, and Lorelei was quite surprised that we weren't ordering much, so she brought us a double order of it, and we just kind of went, oh my goodness, but she wants to take care of us. And although we appreciate it, we still couldn't eat what we had. Mark was so sweet. He would bring me a cheese plate every night to make sure I had something to have with the rest of my wine, because I don't tend to drink coffee at night. And Lorelei was quick to bring us Bernie's tea so he could enjoy that with his ice cream usually every night. We ended up going to bed relatively early again that night. I'd had a bit to drink, so I was ready to hit the hay. Then we're in San Diego, and once we got back on the ship in San Diego, I thought it would be nice to it was a formal night, first of all, but I wanted to do something, and so I had some wine opened, and Bernie and I enjoyed it. We went up on deck and watched the sail away with some wine and chatted about the trip. It was a beautiful sunset. Back down to the dining room tonight, and well, first off, we go to Vines because Oscar, the sushi chef, was adamant that he wanted to make some sushi special for us tonight. So we went to Vines. We had some special sushi, which was really, really good. Thank you, Oscar. And then we went to the dining room and had a wonderful meal with Mark and Lorelei serving us again. Now, tonight it was my mock birthday. Now, my birthday's in August, so we never can get time off in August, so we end up sailing in September, and Bernie always says, we're going to celebrate your birthday in September. And tonight, they don't disappoint. Mark and Lorelei bring me a dessert and sing me happy birthday, and I'm just tickled pink. In fact, we're so happy to be on this ship with them. We're really going to miss them. And I think we'll find out where they go next and maybe join them on whatever ship they go to next. The next day we're in Ensenada, and we had a full day in Ensenada. So when we get back on the ship, people are starting to put their luggage out. Now, we decided to do self-disembarkation, and that means that you will carry your bags off the ship down the gangway through customs. You won't put them out the night before. So you don't get any luggage tags, you're just told which group you'll be in. And for us, we're in walk-off 3. There's 3 walk-off groups on this particular sailing, and they assigned you a group based on where your cabin is. They did say that you're only allowed to bring 1 bag per person on this self-disembarkation or walk-off. That is something I hadn't seen before. I don't know if this is going to be happening more, if it's unique to this ship or to this port. So we didn't pack. We waited till the next morning because we were able to quickly pack up everything. But I wanted to join Bernie in Vines tonight. I had arranged ahead of time with Anthony to get some champagne, and he brought us our champagne, and we toasted a wonderful trip and just being together, and we had a lovely time listening to the mariachi band. And then we went for dinner, and we had a wonderful meal with Mark and Lorelei. It's so sad to say goodbye to them, but I know that our paths will cross again. After that, we went out to the atrium and danced away the night to the music. We had a really, really fun night, and it's going to be hard to say goodbye to everybody the next day. The next morning we woke up, and we didn't have to be out of our cabin till 8 o'clock, and our time to meet in the Explorers Lounge for walk-off, which was also the Platinum and Elite Lounge, was 8:05. Now remember, those are just suggested times. They're not set in stone, so you're supposed to be there a little bit before then, and then just be prepared to get off around then. We had no problem getting off. We were quickly through customs. They had two lines, one for non-U.S. citizens and one for U.S. citizens. Of course, our line as non-U.S. citizen was very short. However, they only had 2 agents that we could go through. So in the end, it took a little bit longer to see an agent, but the lineup was shorter. And of course, the U.S. Passengers had many more agents, so the line moved very quickly for them. After going through customs, we went right out to the parking area, or the drop-off pick-up area. You cross the sidewalk, and there's a platform there for taxis. And we were standing in quite a long line, and I was kind of surprised. And I couldn't figure it out because taxis were going by full. And I finally realized that there was another ship in port, and that they were going by that ship first and then coming to ours. So often they were passing because they already had passengers. Bernie walked down the sidewalk a little bit where the shuttles were and saw that there was a shuttle heading to Long Beach Airport that already had 4 people and only needed 2 more. So we jumped on that shuttle for $17 per person. So it worked out to be a little bit cheaper than a taxi. And we were there very quickly, considering that, it was a Saturday morning, very little traffic at that hour of, it was about 8:30, I would say, and got to the airport very early in time for our flight. Overall, we thoroughly enjoyed this cruise. We enjoyed the itinerary, we enjoyed the ship, we enjoyed the entertainment, the food, the staff immensely. We would do it again. We missed not visiting ports that had, that were from different countries. We missed the different culture and the foods and that we found sort of like in Caribbean or in South America or even in Europe. But, for the price, it was a great getaway. Things that Princess could improve on was definitely the reservation system for Sabatinis, also the bedding, the mattress, and so forth. I think that could certainly use improvement. And the ship is showing some signs of wear and tear, especially things like the washrooms, the public washrooms. You're seeing, issues with tiling and rust and so forth. So I'm hoping that they're going to take advantage of fixing those things when it goes through dry dock in May. But overall, the food was phenomenal. The service was top-notch. And I was very happy with it, and I hope that you will try out the Crown Princess and the California Coastal at another time. So if you want more information, please check out my blog, vickieandbernietravel.blogspot.ca. But especially make sure you check out my Facebook fan page, Cruising Princess Cruise Lines with Vickie. Anybody who asks a question there, I always make sure it gets responded to in a quick and efficient and respectful way. Also, this podcast is my views only. I am in no way affiliated with a travel agency. I am not affiliated with Princess in any way. I'm just an avid cruiser who specially likes Princess cruises and hopes that some of the information that I can provide here can make your trip enjoyable too. Thank you for listening.